Okay, I think we're all good now. So as you heard from Nero, and first of all, I would just like to say thank you very much for inviting us here today. We're really excited about this presentation, and we're really excited about walking through this deck. And it was really interesting to see those poll results as well, where many of you are just starting out in terms of thinking about SEO. And so we definitely have the right deck for you today. This is what we are calling Organic SEO 101. And we will keep things pretty basic and walk through some good hints and tips and ways to think about SEO and give you some good kind of background education in how things work and why they work. And we'll dip our toe into some more advanced things as we go, but for the most part, we're going to keep it kind of in that 101 area. So in terms of the agenda, I think we've already kind of walked through that, but we will kind of demystify. We'll walk through some pillars, as we like to call them, and then some hints and tips, and we'll have some real life examples as well to walk you through, and then the QA at the end. And so we're going to start out with what is SEO, or organic search. So those terms are used interchangeably. So search engine optimization is, SEO is the acronym, and organic search, we may swap those back and forth as we talk through this webinar today. And what we have on the screen now is a Google search engine results page. And you can see that donate to a charity online was the search conducted. And you can see the organic search highlighted with that box around it. So the first thing you see is an ad. And they're always designated with ad kind of in that top left corner. And then right underneath that, you see the organic search result. In many cases, you may see 3 ads before you get to the organic search results. So, just so you know, you got to scroll down the page a little bit sometimes to see those organic search results, but people definitely do that, and a lot of people are clicking on them. And so that's what we talk about when we're looking at getting rankings and listed on pages within Google. So why does SEO matter? Well, the main thing and the main reason why it matters is that outside of the effort you put into it, all of the traffic you're going to generate from it is free. So unlike an ad campaign or even the ad that we saw on the previous slide where you would pay for if someone clicked on that, with organic search, all of the traffic is free. Now, there is a bit of effort you need to put in to get that traffic, but let's just call that kind of sweat equity in order to kind of get ranked and listed within Google and get that traffic for free. And the traffic that comes from organic tends to be a little bit more targeted, if you will, a little bit more likely to convert than paid media advertising. And that's very consistent across the board. So the value of the traffic tends to be a bit higher and the conversion rates tend to be a bit higher when we do drive that organic traffic through to your website. And, just one last thought before we move to the next slide is that when thinking about organic traffic, it really should be one of the top drivers of traffic to your website. Because it is free and because it is so valuable, it just makes sense to put that effort in to get that traffic. And most of our clients at the search agency, that is the case where it'll either be the #1 or #2 driver of traffic to their websites. And as a result, the #1 or #2 driver of conversions at the same time. So now let's start with the main pillars of SEO. So at the top here, you'll see keywords. So keywords are critically important because really that's what everything about your SEO strategy is going to hang off of. So think of that as the umbrella of your SEO strategy. And when we talk about keywords, what we mean is what is somebody going to type into Google? What is the search they're going to do into Google that's going to generate that result, that search engine results page where we hope to get you ranked? And so when you're thinking about keywords for SEO, what you want to think about is around 50, maybe maximum 100 keywords that are relevant for your business, that somebody would go ahead and type into Google that would drive that traffic. And we're just going to do high level, and we'll go a bit deeper as we go through the deck. The next pillar is architecture, sometimes called technical architecture of your website. So this could be anything from your URLs to the code behind the scenes that none of your visitors are ever going to see, and just making sure that Google can actually crawl your website. And that's critical because Google is sending out what we would call spiders or crawlers. Every second of every day, a Google spider or crawler is hitting a website and attempting to crawl through it to understand what that website is about. So really the goal of technical and architecture is really just to make sure that those Google crawlers can actually work their way through your website without running into errors or broken pages and broken links and all that other kind of stuff. The next pillar is content. So this is the relevancy of your website. And this is really important because as Google is crawling through your website, so we do the architecture properly, it's also trying to understand what is your website about. So what is the relevancy of your website and what is your content actually speaking to? So very, very important to make sure we think about content because that's what Google is actually looking for. And I always like to say nobody really likes content except Google. We all just want to streamline, quickly run through, look at bullet points and get to where we want to get to and get the information we need in bite-sized chunks. Well, we need to kind of break it down a little bit more for Google and provide that depth of content so Google can understand. And I say Google, I mean all search engines like Bing, for example, so they can understand what your website is about. The next pillar is linking. And linking is really important because it's the authority measure of your website. So, and I'll just continue to say Google all the way through, but you can throw in Bing wherever you'd like. So let's say we get the architecture right. Google can crawl our website. We get our content nice and rich and Google can read our website and generally understand what the website is about. The next thing that Google is looking for is, are you an authority on this topic area? And the way they measure that is, by the number of links and the value or quality of those links that come into your website. So, when we're breaking down these kind of 4 pillars, it's about having the right context from keyword perspective, having architecture that is crawlable by Google, content that is readable and understandable by Google, and then having links that show that you're an authority on these topics. And so that's really everything we'll kind of talk about from here on in is about those 4 areas. So let's go back to keywords. So what we're showing you here is an example of how we like to look at keywords. So when I talked about having 50 to 100 keywords that are relevant for your website, there's 2 other metrics or 2 or 3 other metrics that we like to look at when we're creating our keyword list. And the first one would be how much volume is against these keywords. There's really no point trying to get your website to rank for a keyword that has no volume. This does take a lot of effort to get ranked, and if nobody's really searching for those words, then there's really no point from a search engine optimization perspective in trying to optimize your website for that. So let's say, we have some clients that kind of are inventing new technologies and they want to optimize pages against that kind of new brand term that they've invented. We'll go and look and we'll go, well, there's actually 0 searches for that brand because you just made up that word. But here is the word that is most relevant for your industry and for that topic. So here's what people are searching where we can now maybe use paid media to drive traffic to that page. But let's use those words to kind of fill out the content of your page. So this is a good example of that where we're showing some keywords on the left. In the middle column there, we're showing monthly search volume. The next column shows what the value of that keyword would be on an individual basis. And so what we do is we actually pull in paid search clicks. What would it cost for us to advertise and drive a click from that keyword within Google? So that's what CPC stands for, cost per click. And then we just kind of combine those 2 together to give us that keyword value. Now this may be a little bit more advanced if you're just starting out with SEO, but I did want to plant that concept with you, which is when you're thinking about your keywords, think about, is there volume against this search? And then you can even just eyeball it. Go and do some searches in Google and see, are people advertising against this? So is there actually value that people are also seeing against those keywords? And that's a good place to kind of start from that relevancy perspective.
So Jason, I've got a question for you. So let's say you get this list of keywords. How would you go about ranking them? Like what's most important in terms of priority?
Well, it would come back to, first of all, the relevancy of your website and what you are trying to get people to consume or convert on. So you definitely want to start ranking them that way, which is, how likely A is someone to search this term, but also how B, if we do get listed against that term, will they actually perform the action that we want them to do when they do click through to the website? So that's another way to look at it.
Awesome, thanks.
So I'm going to pass over to Raz to dive a little bit deeper on this one.
Thank you, Jason. Hi, everyone. So yeah, I want to talk about some keyword tips, kind of get you, a couple insights there. When it comes to SEO, a lot more keywords are changing in the sense of being longer tail. In the past, people would try to target keywords that are 1 or 2 words. It gets too generic at that point. So try to target, longer tail keywords in the range of 3 to 7 words. The benefit of that is it gives you a higher click-through rate. If you have somebody who's searching for your business, service, or product offering, because the keyword is so long, it's more inclined to get you those clicks to your website. So the average for the longer tail keywords between 3 to 5% than generic keywords. Do bear in mind though, long tail keywords do receive less search traffic, but they tend to have a higher conversion value. So chances are if you get that traffic, you are going to be able to convert it, and that's always a benefit for everyone. Tip number 2, there's 3 phases of keywords to keep in mind. There's an awareness keyword, there's a consideration keyword, and there's a conversion purchase intent terms. You may also ask, well, which one should I go with first? There's really no set order. I think try to set all 3 for your website. This also helps Google to see what you're trying to do, the effort behind your keyword research as well. So for example, an awareness keyword would be, what charity should I donate to? That's an awareness. Somebody's trying to figure out the charity they want to donate to. They're in the research phase at that moment. Consideration, now they know they've done their research, they maybe looked at competitors, maybe they went to YouTube, looked at some videos about that charity, and vice versa. At that point, they're ready. So they're typing charity in Canada, or they're trying to get a list of charities in Canada. Once they know that, they picked out the charities, they're ready to convert. They're going to be donating to that charity they have in mind. So those are great ways to get your keyword research thinking around, is those 3 phases of keyword research. Also, what we wanted to provide you as well is a free tool by Google. There's a link right here in the slide. You can actually go check this out. Just make sure you have a Gmail account. That is a necessity. Once you have that, you could actually go directly into this link. Google calls it a keyword planner. Once you're there, you can start off by just starting with your seed term. A seed term could be charity. Just give me all the words that are related to charity. Or it could be donation or donate. That's the best way I would start. You don't necessarily have to have the exact 3 to 7 word keywords. This tool will show you all of that. From there, you can pick and choose what you like. You can get to see the volume, as Jason pointed out in the previous slide as well. That's a great way to go when doing your keyword research.
Okay, so next on the list is technical. So when we talk about technical, as I said, it's allowing Google to crawl your website and make sure they can crawl your website easily, quickly, seamlessly. Google does have what's called a crawl budget for every kind of website out there, where, because they're collecting information, they're collecting data, so they're only going to invest so much time in trying to figure out what your website is about. So technical SEO is really about just making sure that when the crawler does come, it's kind of working its way through your website, it's consuming the information that we want it to consume in the way we want it to consume, and the crawler, in a sense, is not getting frustrated and leaving, or just picking a page to rank versus the page we want it to rank. So we want to kind of give the crawler all the signals possible to make sure we get the results that we want. So, 5 examples of technical SEO, starting with the URL. And when we look at the keywords that we just talked about in the beginning, are the keywords that are important to us actually in the URL? That's going to be important. When we look at the page titles, again, are those keywords there? The meta descriptions, though that might not be a ranking factor, when you actually do rank on Google, that is, what the information a Google visitor is going to see about your website. So again, describing your website with those keywords. H1 and H2 tags. We'll get into this a little bit more when Raz starts talking, but think of H1 like the headline of the page. So we want to make sure we're telling Google, this is the headline of the page. That's what an H1 is. And so again, are our most important keywords in there? A canonical tag. I'll let Raz talk about that. It's a bit more technical than I would attempt to describe. And then also image alt text. So Google still is not able to interpret an image. So we want to make sure we have those alt texts in there so Google can understand what that image is about. And again, it's just making sure Google can read everything.
All right, great. So we want to actually show you two examples backing up the previous slide of those technical elements and kind of what to watch out for on the front-end SEO. Front-end is basically what you see on a website visually. Back-end is all the coding behind the scenes. And that is the two main components when it comes to SEO. You got the front-end and you got your back-end. So we'll start with the front-end. As you can see, hopefully everybody can see this a little small here, but as you see here, this is an optimal URL structure. It is really talking about the topic at hand, what the post is about. This is actually an example from Canada Helps blog post. So great, URL structure. I would advise keep it short and sweet. Sometimes it gets too long, and you're going to give the search engine spiders, crawlers, a hard time trying to read that URL. So keep it short and sweet, straight to the point, I should say as well. H1, as Jason also pointed out, is the main headline on a page. So this is the H1 tag. It has to be ideally right at the top of the page before you try to introduce any other elements. Start with the H1 tag. Tell Google what this page is about. As well, for the end consumer or user that's landing on that page, you want them to read that headline. Think about it as your entry title to everything else. So once you have your H1 tag covered, then you get to and it's great to see this here, there's a date that it was published. This also helps Google with some credibility behind the scenes when you're creating that date of the publication that you have. Always try to include an author or a brand name. Again, that's a credibility factor. A lot of times, blog posts will have no author, or if the author will say admin. The admin is usually typically created automatically with your website. So try to give it a name. Try to give it a name that will help. Content. Try to get your content as soon as you have your H1, you have your credibility factors embedded. Have your relevant content above the fold. Above the fold really just means it's right at the very top, and it's not buried in the middle. It's not buried at the bottom of the funnel. Keep it at the top of the funnel. This will help also just for everybody on the call. Google spiders, they read everything from the left-hand side. So anything you have that's important or is valuable, try to have that in the beginning. Even keywords, I don't want to get too technical here, but with keywords, try to mention in the first 100 words of the body content. This will also help. So if there's a donation keyword, charity that you're trying to put in there, a long tail keyword, try not to have it at the end of the paragraph. Try to have it at the beginning. So this is great. It's got our content above the fold. Mix it up with some multimedia. So this is a great image, because you want to keep users on the page. Now, as much as we're optimizing for Google, we're also optimizing for the users. Let's not forget that. So we got to keep it natural, of course. It's got to be optimized, but also keep those users on your page. Make sure they don't leave, or try not to get them to leave. So the images help, videos help, infographics. These are all great examples of multimedias. Here's an H2 tag right at the bottom here. So you have your H1. H1 is only use it once per page, but H2 is you can use it many times, more than once. Basically, H2 is a complementary tag to the H1 tag. So it's a secondary headline. Introducing this topic in a different way, I should say, or using, and you could also have your primary, keyword, for example, in the H1. Your H2, it could be, think about it as another way of saying donation. How can I say that in a different way while supporting the same topic at hand? That's great. With any headers, try to always have a paragraph to support it. Just like you see H2 here, there's no image right after that. There's a content, then you can introduce your image after the content has been embedded. Let's get to the back-end SEO. So as Jason pointed out, you have your title tag and you have a meta description. I'm going to start with those first two tags. These are essentially called metadata. And these two tags are the first tags you'll see in Google search results. You'll see a title and you'll see a description. Essentially, I always say these two tags are your business cards. So you got to make sure the right messaging, the right wordings, even a call to action will be great in your meta description, which is showed here. This is a snippet into the page, into what the page is going to ultimately be about before you even click on it. So it's giving users a nice sneak preview about your page. Keep this short, and we'll talk about what the recommended character counts should be for each of these tags to follow best practices. But at the end of your meta description, which is shown here, try to have a call to action in the end. Example of that could be learn more. You could put a phone number, read more. Anything along those lines will help the users to want to click on your result as opposed to a competitor. A title is great. You can. I'll just read this out. Charitable holiday gift ideas, gifts that give back, Canada helps. Donate to any charity in Canada. It's compelling. It's useful. It's something that, hey, I want to learn more about this when I go on. Chronicles, this is very technical, but I'll keep it very high level. Sometimes what happens is you have two pages that are essentially the same. It's almost a clone of one another. So how do I tell Google which version is the version I want to be picked up in your search results? So this canonical tag tells Google that this URL is the version that I want for this page. Last but not least, this is your image alt tag. This is actually the logo. You can't see it on here, but this is the logo on the page, Canada Helps logo. And if you notice the alt tag says CanadaHelps.org, giving made simple. A lot of times people might just say main logo or whatnot. So that's basically telling Google what the logo is about. All right, so we're still on technical. So we're still on the technical side. So mobile is very important. It was released in July 1st, 2019. So now everything's about mobile. Things to keep in mind, make sure that your mobile experience is the same experience on your desktop version. Sometimes you have a different experience on desktop than you do on mobile. Google does not want that. Keep everything the same. Keep everything responsive. Whether you're viewing your website on a laptop, on a TV, on a tablet, you name it. Make sure it's responsive. There's no elements falling out of place. That is key. If you do want to check for free how to check your web pages for mobile friendliness, there's actually a tool by Google created. It's right here in the slide. You can click on that, put any web page of yours that you like to see, whether it's your home page, About Us page, and vice versa. You can put it in there. It'll tell you if it's friendly or not. Site speed is very important. You want to try to keep it 3 seconds or less. Not to scare you, but if it goes over that, you could be potentially losing 50% of your site visitors. So very important. If you want to check your site speed as well for free, you can go out to this URL recommended by Google called webpagetest.org. And you can really just see everything behind the scenes about your page performance.
Yeah, and last thought about site speed is that yes, we are trying to aim for 3 seconds or less. Very few websites actually get there. So just when you do that and you see 7, 8 seconds,
okay.
Yeah, well, it's okay in general, like you're in with the rest of the pack. But the goal is that, the faster you get your site to load, the more Google likes it, and the better overall your results you're going to get from your SEO efforts. Okay, so let's talk about content. So content is critically important as we talked about in the beginning, because it really is the relevancy of your website. So we do need content on pages, and we do need quite a bit of content on pages in order for Google really to understand, to make that understanding of your website. So typically when we're working with clients, we'll talk about 2 different content distinctions. There's existing content that you have on your site already. Maybe, it's just what is your charity about? Maybe you do have a blog. Maybe there's just information about all the good that's come from the donations you provided. Your website will have content. And so the first place to start is optimizing that existing content and optimizing it with those keywords that we talked about at the very beginning. So making sure on the page you're inserting, a certain number of relevant versions of that keyword as Raz was describing. Ultimately, you're going to find, if you do your keyword research thoroughly enough, that you have content gaps, and you will need to generate new content. So that's the way to think about content with SEO, optimizing your existing content, and then looking for those content gaps. You don't have pages that are dedicated to specific keywords that are high volume and high value. Start thinking about how you can get pages with that content on them, and doing the technical work that Raz just described, URLs, page titles, H1s, all of that stuff with those keywords, and then some great content to support it. So that's the idea of content.
Yeah, just another example here, more or less the same example we saw in the previous slide. It just means that Canada House is very consistent in their efforts of optimizing their pages and blog posts. most. So don't be surprised if it's sort of the same type of example. It just means, again, they're very consistent. Compelling title to introduce the topic. That's important. One analogy I just quickly wanted to mention, think about SEO like a public library, and Google's reading those books. Chapter 1 is your H1. So you want to make sure you have your H1, compelling title. Content has to be compelling. Can't be thin. It can't be 100 words. Try to make it, something that users can land on and read and digest and then make a decision on what they want to do next. But again, there's a date here. There's an author named by Tanja. Relevant content above the fold. Again, a great use of multimedia to further enhance the page and the copy, as Jason pointed out, of how to do the content caps. Here's a couple additional tips when it comes to content. Home and top level pages. You may also be wondering, what are top level pages? These are really all the pages you have in your main nav at the very top. So the main nav, whatever pages you have there, you're telling Google, these are my important pages. These are the pages I want to get eyeballs on. I want to get traffic on. So if there are those pages, home and top level, make sure you have at least 600 words of copy. You may ask, well, where that's coming from? Why does it have to be so long? Well, just using Forbes as an example, and there's many others, but Forbes is obviously very reputable online. So they indicate an average of 600 to 700 words per page is optimal for SEO. And that's because competitors also have long content. So it's hard to beat them out if we have less than that on your site. So, and typically less than 300 words, you're considered thin by Google standards. And we'll cover that off in the next few slides. What is Google looking for when it comes to thin content? Tips, we just covered this, but just to, as a refreshment, make sure your copy comes right after the H1 tag. Introduce the topic, have the content to support the headline. H2s are subheadings. We talked about that, but this helps to sort the existing content on the pages. Medium and long tail keywords, those again were your long tail awareness, consideration, and purchase intent. Keep it long. It would also help you with voice search. This is going to be a big factor with SEO moving forward. Voice search is long tail and it's conversational. So when you are writing your content, have a conversation with your consumers. As much as you want to be thinking about Google, my personal advice is write for the users. Keep it natural, keep it relevant, and Google will support you and love you for that. So here's an example of another optimized landing page. We'll start with the left-hand side of what is really happening. So keyword is donate. The monthly search volume, meaning how many times are users on google.ca typing donate, the keyword donate. So it's 7,400, so quite a lot of volume there. So the current keyword rankings for Canada Helps, they have the first 2 spots, which is great to see. They have a page called Donate, and then they have their homepage ranking, the first 2 results. Now, why is that happening? Why is Google rewarding Canada Helps as the #1 result? So there's many factors, but some of the factors here are shown on the right. So you have a keyword in the page title, so Donate Canada Helps, and then the title continues. You have the main keyword in your URL, which is donate, the primary keyword included. And this is the top level pages I was referring to. This is the main nav. So you notice that donate is the first keyword or first top topic that's introduced in the main nav. So Google sees that, oh, I see, they really are serious about the word donate. You have it there, and then you have your H1 right at the very top, again, donate. And then you have your content above the fold. This is all relevancy, and this is all telling Google what you want to rank for.
Okay, so now we're moving on to the next pillar, which is link building. And as we described in the beginning, links to your website is helping indicate to Google how authoritative your website is on a particular topic. And so if we look backwards in time, 5-6 years ago, it was really all about volume of links. And everybody was playing the game of buying links and getting as many links as possible to their website and showing up on the first page, and because they had 100,000 links. And well, Google's pretty smart. They figured that all out, and they said, okay, stop that. And they changed the algorithm to reward quality. So quality of links. And they started introducing authority measures on domains, URLs, that sort of thing. So when we start thinking about link building programs and link profiles, so when we look at a website, we can see how many links it has, and we start segmenting, and we call that the profile, almost like a scorecard. We're really looking at, the authoritative links. Volume still matters, but authority and volume is really what we're trying to do here. So, and I'll just be honest that link building is the hardest part of SEO. Simply because you're relying upon external websites to actually link to you. And there's specific strategies that you can employ to do that, but typically what we talk about is the order we've actually walked to the deck. Get your keywords lined up and everybody agrees on what those keywords are. Get your technical and architecture cleaned up, no mistakes, get it as perfect as possible. Get your content rich. Raz was talking about 600 to 700 keywords. Make sure all of those things are done. Then start thinking about linking. And because it is not easy to generate links, and the expression that we like to use is it takes a village to manage a link profile, which means your whole company, everybody involved in the charity needs to be thinking about getting links and working every kind of possible angle to get those good links into you.
Yeah, and then there's an example here on the right on a link that's actually pointing to Canada Helps. I personally love this example because, not because we did it, but because it's actually a great example. Right now what you're seeing is Guelph Enabling Garden. It's just a website, and it actually links back to Canada Helps through this, they call this anchor text. You can also say keyword. But it's what are you using, what are the wordings you're using to link it back to a particular website. So in this case, going to Canada Helps, it says donate through Canada Helps. The main keyword is donate is there, but also the brand is there. So our personal advice also is if you're going to get a link, keep it natural. Try not to put just donate or charity. And then Google is going to look at that and try to maybe look to flag it. But the way I would look at it, put a keyword combined with a branded term. So this is great. You have both sides covered. But also what's great is where it's pointing to. So it's going to Canada Helps, but they actually have a dedicated page for this link called the Guelph Enabling Garden. So when Google does see that link, they say, oh, this is great, this is natural, this is relevant. And that's something to keep in mind. Also a great way to start is your partners, whoever you know already, a network that you have. You could start to work with those lists in terms of getting links rather than trying to go and acquire new links from websites you may have never seen before or never heard about before. Here's a couple of tips, additional tips with link building. So we just talked about, but making sure the article is about your service or product offering. This is very important, again, for the relevancy. Domain authority, Jason pointed that out. Try to get it from high-quality websites. Even if you don't know how to check the authority, you can do the eyeball test. Look at that website and say, do I really want to link on this site linking back to me? If the answer is no, then don't do it. I mean, that's the judgment call right there. But if it's vice versa, the other way around, oh yeah, you know what, the content's great. They got compelling blog posts and images and all this great stuff. You know what, I would love to get a link from this website, and that's when you know what to do from there. URL, a lot of times that tells you as well if it's relevant to your business or charity. Title tag, you can always glance at their titles. What are they using? What are they talking about mostly? Some websites have a mixture of information about everything. Sometimes that's not good. You want a niche. You want something that's only about charity or donation as much as possible. Content, same thing about titles, topic, relevancy, all that good stuff. Hyperlink we just covered, so including that branded plus keyword is a great combo. It's a great balance act to have. If you need more information, because link building is such a broad topic, as Jason also pointed, you need a village to get this to work. Here's a source you can go to on how to acquire high quality backlinks or what to watch out for that we have not covered today. Now, when it comes to SEO, it doesn't stop at the 5 or 6 technical elements we just covered. There is way more than that, of course. There's over 200 ranking factors. These are everything as it comes to architecture, content, link building, all of this stuff. But primarily, there's 2 specific algorithms that Google has built. And there's Google Panda and there's Google Penguin. Now, Google Panda is all about content. Now, this is, again, going back to having 600 to 700 words. The supporting that claim is because of Google Panda. They look for low-quality sites, thin related, or duplicate sites. Now, if your content is if you have a content, say, on your homepage, but you kind of have the same content on another page, that's a duplicate content. Go in there, try to put a fresh content there. That will help you with Google Panda. If your page, you created a landing page, only has 100 words, that's going to be considered thin. Try to add more words to that page. The great thing is you already have that page created. Just expand on it. That's great. Utilize, leverage it. That will help you with Google Panda. On the Penguin side, this is everything related to link building. So try to not get those links that look spammy, doesn't look natural. Don't try to get a link just for the sake of it. If you do, Google Penguin will be knocking on your door, and that's something no one wants to open the door to. So yeah. So the next slide here. So how do you get those architectural findings? How do you know what's happening from the technical side of SEO? So we actually provided you a free tool. It's a great tool. You maybe you heard about him or not. Neil Patel is a great SEO guru. He has his own blog post. It's been around for a while, but he has a tool called Site Audit. It's for free. All you got to do is put your domain or website address in there, and it for free will give you everything that you need to know when it comes to page title, description, H1s. And then from there, you can start to work with your developers or whoever has in charge of the website to make those changes for you. Content. Now, you may wonder, well, is there a way I can put my website and figure out if I have duplication or if I have thin content? There is a way. So there's siteliner.com. Do bear in mind the free tool is limited to only 200 pages, which I still think is a lot to work with. So put your website there. It will give you a percentile or percentage in terms of the high duplication. So if you see the percentage is 90%, you know there's a high duplication somewhere on that page. So you can work with that, and also it's color coded. So it's really great to digest information with siteliner.com. Okay, so what would a prioritized plan look like? So clearly, as we covered today, is start with your keyword research. That is your bread and butter to your SEO success. Again, the Google free tool is here. Definitely a great way to start compiling those keywords. Try to have a mixture of medium, long tail. Try not to go, like I said, to 1 or 2 word keywords. That's not going to help. It may not give you the results you're looking for. So do mix it up. Include your main keyword in the beginning of the page title, at the very beginning, followed by the brand name. So here's an example by Canada Helps. So the main keyword in this example is donate, or donate to Canadian charities. That's also a keyword. Have it in the beginning of the title and then followed by the brand name at the end. That gives you the credibility, tells Google you're a brand, you're a company, you are serious, and here's my title tag optimized. Meta description. So it's not a ranking factor, but again, it's a click-through rate or user intent factor. You want people to read a snippet, a preview about what your page is about before clicking to your results. So how do you do that? Here's an example. A one-stop shop for Canadians to donate and fundraise online for any registered Canadian charity. A complete online fundraising solution for charities. So it's a great, it tells you what it's about. It gives you sort of a nice, compelling ending. You know, there's fundraising solution for charity. Oh, what are those solutions? Let me go check it out. So yeah, and make sure you include a call to action as mentioned before. Learn more, phone number. Any way you can get the user to click is better than them going to your competitors. Step 4, we talked about this as well. So longer tails, 3 to 5, 4 to 5, 3 to 7, anything more than 2 words is ideal. Include that in your H1 tag. Again, the main headline on the page. Here's an example for Canada Helps in terms of what they have for their H1 tag. Canada's best destination for donating and fundraising online. Notice the main keywords right here. Now with the H1, you don't necessarily have to have it in the beginning, but it would be ideal. If not, this example works as well. Jason pointed this out, so make sure you try to optimize your existing pages for a greater organic search presence. So step 1 was the keyword research. So look at those keywords, go to your pages, existing pages. Do I have those keywords mentioned? If not, where can I incorporate those terms? Where does it make sense? And then you can start to tag or optimize your existing pages. If you find gaps, you haven't covered that keyword, you haven't covered that topic, that's a great opportunity to build out new pages with compelling content to support those new keywords that you found in step 1. All right, so now we want to do a quick live review for 2 charity partners that we have here, as you can see, Orchestra and Farley Foundation. So we'll start with Orchestra. Okay, Orchestra. So first of all, I love the name. I think it's great. I think it's really easy to digest, knowing what it's essentially about. So I want to talk about how they've done their SEO. Why is the positive about the way that the website is optimized. So first of all, great image, right off the bat tells you what they're about. A quick snippet here, a description about who is Orchestra, what do they do. We'll scroll down, and then we'll get to the more technical stuff. But again, nice images with call to actions, get involved, apply, and donate. Some stats, which is great. Again, a quick preview, making a difference, but then also providing you a link that you can go to for more information. So these are called internal links. It's great because it helps you with your navigation. It helps you from the users in terms of their customer journey for them to navigate, that they don't get stopped. There's not a dead end. From there, they can navigate, go to the next page, get more information, and then go from there. We'll scroll down more. Again, there's more example, learn about our program. So there's a lot of these great content blocks with more information. We'll scroll up now. Obviously, you can see the titles is right here. This is the title tag, Orchestra, Changing Lives to the Power of Music. Logo at the very top. Every page, if you notice, I'm not sure if you can see my bottom left corner as I go through these URLs. If you don't see it, that's okay, but it's showing HTTPS. Make sure everything ends in HTTPS, not HTTP. That tells Google that all your pages are secured. There's nothing to worry about. Customers can land on our website with ease, with no issues. So now let's go to a couple of examples before we go further. So menu is great, by the way. I forgot to mention that. So as you go here, programs, or about, or event, or support, there's a wealth of information and pages, and this is great for when Google comes in to scan the website. They're going to actually go top to left, left to right, start with the about and say, wow, okay, there's an overview, there's philosophy, there's contact us, board of director, and same with everything else. This is really healthy to have. When you click on programs, we talked about it before, the URLs right here, you got programs, you got the title program, everything goes neck and neck, everything is relevant. Where's the H1 on this page? Ideally, you want the H1 to be at the very beginning, and that's the case right here. So program, I'm just going to do a little bit of a coding, inspect element. You could see H1. It's wrapped in an H1 tag. This is perfect. That's what Google's going to see. They're going to see, oh, there's an H1. It's programmed. That's what the page is. You got some content supporting it. We'll scroll down. Again, now introducing the content to support the keyword, which is program. This is great. So every other page they have for Farley Foundation has the H1 at the very top. So we click on about. Again, this is H1. Content is very consistent. You got compelling images, multimedia, a mixture of all of that great stuff. I'll do one more example. Let's go all the way down. You know what? Let's do donate. Yeah, I love this page as well. Again, keyword donate, URL is in there. Donate H1 is in there. Also, notice what donate is linked on. It's at the very top. So Farley Foundation telling Google that donate is a top level page. I'm including it at the very top on every page. That actually starts to get authority on its own because it's linked on every single page on Farley Foundation. Now donate, this was at the bottom of the page, all the way in the footer, all the way here, then that page is not going to get much credibility. So don't be shy about the pages you really want to get traffic to. Put it at the very top, and this is great how Farley Foundation has done that. Sorry, Orchestra, I keep saying sorry. So yeah, that's great. Social media profiles. This is a big deal now with SEO. So you have any social media accounts, link them, put them on your website. If you don't want to show all of them, maybe you don't have much posts, you don't have some sharing, but whatever you do that because it does help you with your SEO authority, having those social media profiles. So again, Orchestra, great job on your menu nav, on your top level pages, on your H1 tags, and also a mixture of your multimedia images that you're using. Very user-friendly, so great job there. Now we'll talk about Farley Foundation. More or less kind of the same. If you notice, donate is also there. So Farley and Orchestra are very similar in how donate is their main, and to no surprise, but it's the main top level page. Again, we're at the very top. We'll click on donate, in the title, in the URL. The logo as well. I want to kind of show you the logo here as an example of an image alt text. Notice here, this is the image alt text right here that Google will read. Users won't read that, but Google will behind the scenes. If you notice Farley Foundation logo, the alt text says the Farley Foundation logo, straightforward. A lot of time there is no alt text. So Google will skip this image or this logo or any other images on your website that does not have this specific alt tag element. They're going to skip it. And that's a waste because there's a lot of great images that you can get credibility for. Again, there's content to support it, different ways, different variations of donating a vehicle, donating securities, etc., etc. A couple more examples. Go to About Us. This one here, together we change lives. H1 tag, again, amazing, awesome, at the very, very, very top. First thing Google will read after the menu nav, the logo, they're gonna see the H1 tag. Content supported, content is supported. Last but not least, here's an image. Again, an alt text describing exactly what that image is about. Sometimes it says picture 1, picture 2. That's just generic. Try to put something that explains the image. So again, great job to Farley and Orchestra by having those.
So Raz, one thing I noticed by going through both websites for Orchestra and Farley was they both have like a blog or a news section. Is that something that you recommend that charities take on in terms of generating content?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So think about your top level pages. Those are your middle of the funnel. The blog post could be also the bottom of the funnel, depending on how you treat it. But it's also a different way of introducing content to Google. If Google sees the same thing over and over again, they kind of get bored. So how do you mix that up? So blog post is a great way to get those awareness keywords on your site.
Awesome.
All right, we'll switch gears back to the deck.
So just being cognizant of time here. So maybe what we'll do is we've got the whole presentation that we're going to send out to everyone. I know that you've got a couple of juicy nuggets in terms of an SEO glossary for keywords and terms that we use throughout the presentation that we'll send out to everyone so everyone can kind of get up to speed on that. And you've got an awesome slide on 5 things we can do right now, which is kind of recapping everything you mentioned in the presentation, which is awesome takeaway. I do want to leave some time for questions from our guests. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump right into it. You guys have been very active on the chats. Christy, we hear you. We hear your questions. So we're going to get to a couple of questions that our experts can answer right off the bat. So kind of moving forward with that, the first question that we have from Diane is, what are the most common mistakes people make in using SEO?
Well, let me take the first crack at it, and I'll give you the overview, and Raz maybe can give a technical example. But I would say the first mistake that people make is not prioritizing SEO. So there's always something that seems to be more important. We've got to get this promotion up. We've got to get this press release out. We've got to do this. We've got to do that. We all know that we have a finite amount of dev resources, and there's only so many hours in the day. However, as we started, this whole webinar, it's about investing time for future traffic, high volume, high converting traffic. So the biggest mistake I see out there is just not prioritizing it and not making sure that there is a way to execute ongoing. And it's not a lot of time. If you dedicate, 4 to 8 hours a week for, a short period of time, you can really get ahead of the game with SEO. Do you have a technical mistake, Raz?
No, I'd just like to add to what you're saying, Jason. I think it's just effort. I mean, Google can now really be able to tell how much effort was made on your website. So if you're going to put something on, just make sure you're putting it out there, not for the sake of it, but it's quality and the effort is behind it. And it will show to Google as well.
Awesome. Christy is asking, are keywords the same as tags? So I think you were mentioning tags in the presentation. So she's just wondering, is that the same thing as keywords, or is there a different argument there? Or
it's different. I would say it's different. Tagging, more or less, is just a lack of a better word of saying include or optimize it on your site or on your pages. So no, I would say the answer to that would be no.
Okay.
Yeah, and in the realm that we've been using it is, tag, but it is inserting keywords. It is, so those terms can get muddied sometimes, so I definitely get why people may get confused about that. But if you think about inserting keywords into your content, into your architecture, URLs, page titles, that sort of thing, then that's the same as tagging for sure.
Awesome. Heather is asking, well, she's actually wondering if you can confirm that Google only looks at published pages, meaning public, assuming she means like front-facing published public pages. Or how does Google approach, different kinds of pages?
Oh, well, I don't want to get too technical, but there is a tag called no index. So if you have that on your site, you're telling Google, don't include this in your results. If you have it open, then any page you put up on your website, Google will know about it.
So you do that on a page by page
page, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's important for people also to know if you have a staging server and you're, before you go to production, make sure that is no index. You don't want to end up having your staging pages ranking in Google, because one of the things we've learned over time, if there's something you don't want Google to do, they're going to do it. So if you have a duplicate page, put the canonical in there to tell Google which page you want to rank, because if you let them make up their mind about it, they'll pick the wrong one. Complete your meta description, because if you don't, Google's going to put one in there for you and it's going to look ridiculous. So if you've ever gone to a search engine results page and you see something you don't understand, why would they do that? Well, they just didn't put a meta description in there and Google's making one up for them. But.
Awesome. Gary's asking, does the domain name impact SEO? So for example, is it best to have the full name or an abbreviation, kind of like ctv.ca? Is that just as good? What's your recommendation there?
I think the more concise you can be, the better. CTV probably had to spend a lot of marketing dollars to get it branded. So if you're a startup, that's going to be hard. It's going to take you years to just get that brand known or that domain name known. So be more concise, maybe give more information than you can. But again, with your domain, keep it short and sweet. You don't want something too long. User's not going to remember that in an email blast or whatever the case may be. So yeah, I would just keep that in mind for sure.
Awesome. We've had a few questions come in about WordPress and WordPress's relationship with SEO. So bear with me. I got a couple of questions. So first question is, do you need a plugin to update/upgrade SEO in WordPress? Another question in the same vein is, do you have any thoughts on Yoast for WordPress as an SEO tool? Yeah, just curious to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's a great question. First off, I love WordPress. I think they're one of the best CMS platforms out there when being SEO friendly. They do come with those plugins as an option. You don't have to use it, but it is a great way for people who are starting out with SEO, optimizing the page titles, descriptions, H1s. Great, yeah, you can get the Yoast plugin. That is a very good plugin. It's been around for years. A lot of SEOs are using it on their WordPress platforms. It does help you make those quick changes without going the back end to the really heavy coding aspect of the CMS. It's really front end from the back end to make those changes. So absolutely, I vouch for that. Just one thing to keep in mind, try not to have too many plugins because that does slow down your website. So if you are going to introduce a new plugin, make sure it's the right plugin to have. Something just to add to that, if you want something that helps you to compress your images for site speed, there's a great plugin for everybody on the call, Smush It. They have a free and they have a paid version. It automatically compresses all your images for you. But again, keep that in mind if you're installing plugins, not to have too many.
Awesome. We're going to have time for a couple more questions. Another question is, and I'm sure a lot of our charity partners are facing this in various ways. Another charity has a very similar name to ours, and they always rank first. They always come up first on the search engines. Is there anything that they can do?
Yes, there's a lot you can do, which is kind of following all the tips that we talked about today, really. And the sad part and the unfortunate part is there's no silver bullet. You really have to do a lot of things correctly in order to rank well in Google. And if you're looking at pushing somebody out and trying to get above them, just remember they're trying to do the same thing. So the way to look at SEO is like cutting the grass. It's not something you do once, okay? It's something you need to work on every week, continually work on your website. And I'll give you a couple examples. You're putting up new pages on your website. People are changing your website. Well, you got to make sure those pages are also optimized for SEO. And meanwhile, your competitors are also optimizing and putting up new pages. And then lastly, Google's changing their algorithm fairly regularly. So you really need to stay on top of it. And if you start with the tips that we had in here, get your keywords focused, and volume. You can look at your competitors, see what they're ranking for. What are those keywords? Make sure now you're looking at your architecture and building those keywords in, looking at your content, building out more content, rich content. And then lastly, getting some links into your website, linking to that content for those keywords, if you follow them, right? So, you know, those three things, there's no silver bullet. It's just roll up your sleeves, dig in, and it is, you know, it is work that just needs to be done regularly.
Awesome. That kind of leads into the next question. So how important is it to engage experts to manage SEO for you versus managing SEO in-house with limited knowledge? And this question comes from Becky.
Okay, so, you know, everything you look at needs to be decided on the return on investment. So the cost, you know, the spend that you're going to put into something versus the value you're going to get out of something. So when you look at those keywords, the volume that's there, and you do an equation of, well, and you look at your existing organic traffic, how much more traffic could I be getting, and how valuable is every click that I send into my website? So what's your conversion rate, and you know, what's the revenue that's coming from that? That's just kind of the start of it. So, you know, when you're thinking about doing yourself or hiring somebody, it's really how big can this be? How much traffic can we get? And what is that top line revenue, just for lack of a better word, that we may be able to generate from this? Now, that's kind of the first part of the equation. The second thing, just to make you aware of, is SEO is hard, and it is hard work. People like Raz, this is all that they do every single day. And I can tell you, I've been doing SEO for longer than I care to share. And every week with Raz, I learn something new that I didn't know about SEO, because the world is just changing so quickly. So I would say, if you can afford to have an expert help you, then definitely do so. And a way to consider doing that is have an expert come in, do the audit, help you get set up with a plan to prioritize optimizing your website. Just the way we did, starting with the keywords, looking at your architecture, looking at your content, stop for a minute, get all of that stuff done, build the foundation, and then maybe engage that expert once a quarter to come back and make sure, like if your budget is tight, once a quarter to come back and make sure anything you've done to your website since they were last there, and just like cutting the grass, staying on top of those changes, because there's no point doing it once and then leaving, because within a year, your website will be out of date, the world has changed, and you're left behind, and then you have to spend all of that money again. So think of it like cutting the grass. You're going to pay someone to cut your grass for you, and it is worth it generally.
I can come over your place and mow your lawn if you'd like.
For some free SEO?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much for answering that question. Thank you both for answering those questions. You folks on the line, you guys came up with some amazing questions. We apologize we weren't able to get to everything, but we've got some good news for you, so bear with me for a second. So first of all, I want to thank both of you, Jason and Raz, for taking time out of your day to speak with our charities and provide some tips and some quick wins they can get through on SEO. I think it's going to be super valuable for our base of charities to kind of start doing this, start thinking about how they can go about optimizing their website and start ranking for keywords. So thank you so much for that.
You're very welcome.
So a quick note, stay updated on special guest speaker webinars such as this one from Canada Helps, as well as other webinars, educational resources, products, fundraising tips, and be sure to follow us on social media. So the good news, we've put up Jason and Raz's email addresses up there, so feel free to reach out to them with any questions you're going to have that we may have not covered in today's presentation. I'm sure they're both smiling at me right now, thumbs up, so they're more than welcome to answer those questions that you guys will have coming through in the next days and weeks. So as always, thank you to all our attendees for participating and for special guest speakers for attending and speaking. We hope you can join us for next webinar in March on how you can manage your ticketed events online using Canada Helps. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.